Aloha, my beautiful friends. Welcome. Happy Sunday. So excited. This weekend is the full moon and it's also the fall equinox. So a lot of people ask me, what is that all about? What does it really mean? Or why does it matter? So I thought I would just go and share for a moment, what is it all about? Because when it comes to being in alignment with the universe, if we can synchronize with the cycles of the seasons and the cycles of the moons and different things like that, you can start to feel much more in harmony with the universe because the universe moves in cycles. I was even watching a video the other day by Sadhguru, and he was talking about this too. He actually said specifically that life goes in like 12-year cycles, he was saying, and that if you can see life like that, that there are these 12-year cycles. And then I'm going to break it down and we're going to talk about even smaller cycles, right? So there's like a daily cycle, your rhythm of your day. There's your morning routine, your day energy, your evening routine. And then there's your week, and then there's your month, and then there's seasons like the fall, spring, summer, and winter. So those are the different equinox and solstice breaks those up into cycles. And then we have years, and then we have 12-year cycles. So it's a really interesting thing when you get synchronized with the cycles of the universe and time and energy, you can start to, I think, have more peace in life. I mean, there's many things that can come from this. One of the things is you can have more peace in life because you can start to see that, oh, this is part of this cycle, right? So I'll give you an example. Right now, the planet is in a very interesting dark cycle, I would call it. We have a war going on in Ukraine and Russia. We had a pandemic that locked the whole planet down and killed people. We have a mental health crisis in the school systems worldwide. We have teacher burnout. We have so many cycles going on right now on the planet. And the predominant cycle that appears to be happening is somewhat of a purgation, or we could call this the destruction phase. And at the same time, interestingly enough, at the same time, there's also this regeneration, the regeneration cycle, which is the feeling of sort of like a renaissance, a rebirth, people awakening, things changing, people feeling more inspired about the future. And so there's both of these happening at once. Now, this is usually going on. Like if you have ever had a group of women together, for example, around the full moon, at any moment, half of them or some of them might be going through something kind of difficult, and others are like celebrating something, right? And you're like, wow, that's so fascinating. These people are like celebrating and they're getting married or they're having a baby, or, something really exciting is happening over here. And then over here, like the breakup, or like somebody lost a family member, like something really difficult. So there's like these cycles that we go through. One thing that's beautiful about life is that it's never going to be that you would stay in the same cycle for an extended, like a whole lifetime. For example, you would never stay in a down cycle your whole lifetime. You'll never stay in a, for example, where everything's going wrong for you. That won't happen. So the good thing is, if a lot of things are going wrong for you, you're like, okay, well, that's okay, because I know that the positive is coming. I know that from this destruction, from this tragedy and challenges and struggle, is going to be born something very beautiful. And when you start to see it from a wider perspective like that, a lens that sees the big picture, then life can feel a little bit more beautiful and miraculous, and you can start to see the divine order of it all. And in my new book, The Flow State, which, by the way, I have some updates about my book. I'm so excited. I got like so many good things to share with you all. But anyway, so I'll share about that in a minute. But I just wanted to finish the conversation really quick about cycles. And if you have any questions about it, please post them in the chat. I'm very happy to, engage in this conversation. It's so interesting because a lot of people in our community specifically, I think you're already a little bit synchronized with the cycles. If you've joined my equinox, solstice, full moon, new moon, or any of these group community gatherings that I've hosted over the course of my career, you probably are in somewhat tune with the cycles, but we can all become even more in tune with it. And the more in tune we get with it, with our rituals, with our energy, and the way that we prepare for these cycles, I think the more grace we can align with. So in the Flow State book, which I'll tell you a little bit in a minute about the release of that, which I'm really excited about, there is one of the chapters is the universal law of grace. And grace is a unique universal law because some people would call that miracles, in the sense that it's just this divine energy that sweeps in and delivers blessings. And you're like, wow, that was the grace of God. A lot of people will call it the grace of God. Or you could say like you're in alignment with God's graces, or you could even say it with people. Like if you're in the good graces of somebody, it means that they're like really appreciating you, supporting you. So the energy of grace is truly a divine blessing. So if we can align with the universal law of grace, and we can learn how to bring that energy into our lives in a daily way or on a regular basis, then we can really start to have a much more beautiful life, right? And that's what this community is all about. Like everything that I do, everything that I've ever shared, if you've been a part of, especially if you've been on my YouTube, I mean, I've been posting videos since 2006, which is, 16 years. I've been sharing all of these things for 16 and plus, more than that. Even before YouTube, I was even sharing these things even when I was a kid. I was born to do this. But the point is that I'm sharing what we're sharing, what I'm offering for you to learn how to embrace, and that you to also share, so that you can continue to be a ripple effect of blessings, is the idea that the more you align with the universe, then your life becomes kind of a continuous stream of miracles, right? So even when we're in the challenging moments, I'm not suggesting that all of a sudden all the problems go away and you just have like this unicorn lifestyle. That'd be nice. But honestly, I can give you my full-on testimony that after all these years of truly living and walking my talk and living in alignment with the source of life, it doesn't take away the possibility of having challenges. What it does is it gives you a new perspective from where you can respond to life's challenges, right? I'll give you an example. This week, in fact, I think it was like 2 days ago, my Instagram got hacked. I guess it's hacked. I don't know. It's like I can't get on my Instagram. So anyway, that happened before. I had my YouTube hacked. I had my Instagram hacked multiple times. I've had many, many hackers. But this time I was like so at ease about it. I was like, oh, okay, well, I know it'll come back. And if it doesn't, it's not meant to be. Like that feeling of freedom around it versus panic and struggle and being distraught or grief stricken about losing something, like that didn't happen at all. And I was so grateful that it didn't, because you can't be tied to the material world in a way that it will yank you around emotionally. That's one of the things that I've learned over this lifetime, right? I was always very emotional my whole life. And I don't know if you feel the same way, leave a comment or, click the like button if you're on YouTube. But let me know if this has been your situation as well. But I personally, my whole life was very, very emotional because I'm an empath and because I feel everything very deeply. Now, it's a blessing and it's a little bit of a curse, because when you feel everything so deeply, it can be very painful when things hurt, right? So then all of a sudden you're like, the world is over, versus like, okay, that's not a big deal. So what we aim for through this beautiful community of flow state that we have here is to become the masters of our emotion, the master of your mind, the master of your emotion, so that nothing externally can ever thrash you around on the ocean of life, right? It's the storms of life can be happening, but we are the eye of the storm. We are the center where there's a calm peace and trusting, faith, knowing that it's all going to be okay. And because it always is. Because it always is, we can trust that it will be this time. That's the whole tying it back to the idea of cycles. Knowing that, okay, so I'm going through a cycle of having my Instagram hacked. But the interesting thing of it is that whenever that happened, I realized it was an opportunity, because I had I have this trademark for the flow state, and there's all these other accounts on Instagram that are using my brand, which is flow state. So if you go on Instagram, it's like flow state, this, that, the other thing, like all these people using it, but I have the trademark, the USPTO trademark. And in this country and in the world, if you have a trademark, it protects your intellectual property and people are not allowed to use it. So anyway, it gave me an opportunity to reach out to Instagram and say, hey, by the way, in addition to restoring my Dashima Instagram, can you please help me with this trademark situation? Because all these people are using my trademark and we're getting ready to launch the Flow State book and podcast and all these other things. And so I want to make sure that we're protected. So anyway, it opened the conversation for that, which I probably could have done it anyway, but it just like provided that motivation. So you can always find a blessing in every challenge. And that's what I'm kind of getting at. But then leading that back to cycles. So for example, we go in cycles. So sometimes we're in a cycle of learning. Maybe you're in a cycle of learning. Maybe you're in a cycle of challenge. Maybe you're in a cycle of letting go. Maybe you're in a cycle of celebration. Maybe you're in a cycle of blessings. Maybe you're in a cycle of miracles. Maybe you're in a cycle of changing jobs or living in a new place. Like there's these interesting cycles. Now, if you can see what cycle you're in, post a comment in the chat. Let me know if you have somewhat of an awareness about what cycle you're in, because the cycle, if you have that awareness, you can prepare more and you can set yourself up to win in a better way. And when I say set yourself up to win, what I really mean by that is, there are certain things that you can be doing instead of like fighting the stream, going with the stream, right? Let's see, Floor says, I really like the wisdom to be able to choose your own reaction and learning something out of everything that happens. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, exactly, Flor. Becca, so definitely aware. Oh, good. Pamela, I am in a cycle of study. Oh, beautiful. Amelia says, haha, that was me. My name is Amelia. I cannot figure out for the life of me how to change my name. Oh, and your name was Chicken Nugget. I was like, who is this Chicken Nugget on our Zoom? But now that I know it's you, welcome, Amelia. So happy to have you with us, Goddess. Let's see. She said, I am in a cycle of death and rebirth. Ah, beautiful. Well, I will say about the death and rebirth really quick, Amelia. I have learned in my life that is actually a cycle that never ends. So, but doesn't mean that it's daily, like death, rebirth, death. Sometimes it's like death. Let's say that's like a few months, or like a month, or it could be a week, or it could be a day, who knows, death, and then the rebirth, right? But that's a cycle. Like, think about how you can relate this to even if you're a female, your moon cycle or your menstrual cycle. That is that same process of death and rebirth, right? The death is the shedding of the layer, of the letting go of the blood, right? That's the death. And the rebirth is what comes after that. And after that is when you're the most fertile, if you wanted to have a child, for example. So that process, even though you could think of it as death and rebirth, it's really a cleansing and a purification of release to create a more fertile ground for the beautiful next phase. So we can always see it in whatever way we want to see it. Same thing like with the seasons. If you looked at winter as death, because there's like a lot of places in the world that have winter, it's like there's no leaves, there's no flowers, it's very cold and dark and all of those things, you could say, oh, that's bad. But I don't think it's bad at all. It's a necessary part of the cycle, because as a result of that dark, cold, no green energy of winter, then all of the seeds have an opportunity to really become more fertile and they germinate under the snow. And then when spring comes along and the warmth returns and the sun becomes more prominent, then all of a sudden all that snow melts, and the snow is the fertile, like necessary element that creates all of the hydration for all of the seeds that are all buried underneath it to grow. And that's where you get the new flowers, the new grass, the new trees, and all the beautiful new plants coming up in the springtime. So that's kind of the process of like winter to spring, and then from spring to summer. Then everything in summer is like really blossoming, and then in the fall time it's moving back towards that other season, which is the letting go, the leaves turn brown, everything dies again, then we go into winter again. So it's like this beautiful cycle where we go through that. Now we do that in our human lives as well, right? So sometimes you're like losing a lot of friends, or like moving to a new place, or feel like you don't know your purpose in life, or like all of these things could be happening, which is the beautiful blessing, like that winter. And then you move from the winter into the spring. And that's where we're at right now. And that's what the spring equinox is all about. Spring equinox is a powerful portal, because what we're really doing is we're moving from the season of winter into the season of spring. Now, we just talked about that. So the winter was that season of death, I guess you could call it, but it's not so much death, it's just that dormancy where everything feels like nothing's happening, but you're like, there's a lot going on inside, but like nothing looks like it on the outside. And you're like, wow, it probably looks like I'm doing nothing, but like there's a lot going on inside, right? Who can relate to that? Post a comment, or if you're on YouTube, leave a thumbs up if you feel like there's a lot going on inside. And these past few months, especially, or during those seasons of your life, and then all of a sudden, everything sprouts out, and it looks like, oh, then the external visual, or like what can be perceived from the outside, is able to see all the inner work that you've been doing. Let's see. Amelia says, my teachers hated that my name was Chicken Nugget back when I was in school. That's so funny and cute. Let's see. Abigail said, I had a situation this morning that would have a year ago given me a panic attack and sent me to a spiral of depression and anxiety. Wow, Abigail. Not this morning. It left me as quickly as it arrived. Wow, I feel my growth is serving me so much. It's almost a natural feeling, not giving into stress and negativity. Oh my goodness, I just love that. That is like the best. Oh, shoot. That is the best thing I've read all day. Sorry guys if I just shot myself. Anyway, yeah, that's such a good point with what Abigail just shared, because what it is that we can grow, and that's what that is a testimony of. It's saying, wow, look how I would have used to responded to what just happened, and now look at how I'm responding now. That is a testimonial that your inner work is blossoming, right? And if you see in the spiritual traditions, they always depict this as the lotus, right? So the lotus, I've shared this story before, but if you haven't heard it before, I'm going to share this kind of the metaphor of the lotus, because it is the kind of the symbology of the awakening consciousness. And if you look at a lotus, if you don't know, a lotus starts out as a little seed, like they call it a bulb, but it's a seed, and you put it, and it grows the best if you put it in like murky, muddy water. So you got to throw it in the mud pond, and then you don't know what happens from there, right? You're just like, I hope it grows, right? And then like it can take a while, so it's just like nothing's happening, and you're like, where's my lotus, dude? Like, I put the seed, where's the lotus? And sometimes it takes months for it to germinate. And then it's interesting. So that's what happens with the consciousness. Like, we go into the dark difficulties, right? And then we are the seed of consciousness. That's the lotus bulb. And you go in, and then all this like darkness and difficulties and challenges and struggles, and that death energy is like difficult stuff. But what it is it's strengthening you, fertilizing the consciousness, and so that it comes to a certain point where it is ready to bust out of that little shell, and then it shoots up, and then it has like a stem, and then this beautiful flower, and then you have your lotus, and the lotus comes above the water, and then it comes up and it wants to connect with the light and the sun. And it's literally a symbol of consciousness and beauty in the world, where before it was just like a little bulb in the murky water. So if you could see yourself in that way, like, okay, maybe I'm the bulb in the murky water right now, but knowing that you are also the fully blossomed, beautiful, divine energy of the lotus in its fullness. So when you know you're both, then you don't have to feel bad about being in the murky water or like going through those struggles, because knowing that those struggles are part of the process of what's going to lead to the full manifestation of the blossoming. Let's see. Clarissa says, I am in a cycle of changes: career, health, family, and home. Oh, beautiful. Laura says, yes, aware of my cycle. I'm in the change from dark and losses to the growth cycle. I think I go with the seasons. Yeah. Angela says, yes, I feel that. Oh, goddess. Lori says, spring equinox is always intense. I always have things changing on the equinoxes. Also have north and south node opposition. Astrologically, I searched the dates and crazy how accurate the patterns for my 45 years on Earth. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. Like if you know that your personal astrology is aligned with the seasons that directly, then you can really see how important it is to align with doing rituals, meditation, ceremonies of some sort on these portals, because you're going through initiations. We're all going through initiations all the time. But anyway, when you align with it on these portals, then what you're doing is you're telling the universe, okay, I am outside of all of this. I am beyond the minutia. I am existence itself. Therefore, I'm just aligning with existence and allowing whatever is meant to be in this moment, trusting that it is divine and perfect order always, and that whatever is meant to be will be, and that it is a blessing no matter what form it has arrived in, right? Flor says, still have some cleaning up to do. Yeah, well done, Abigail. Yay, beautiful. Amelia, same, Lori. Actually, every breakup I have ever had has been at the end of Pisces season. Oh, wow. That might be, maybe you have Chiron, you got to look at your chart. You never know, but it's interesting when you notice these patterns. Like if you have breakups around a certain time of year, for example, I notice that for myself as well. Like I have generally a lot of new relationships sometimes begin in August, and that's where I have my North Node and also Venus. So relationship dynamics can kind of correlate with where you have North Node, South Node, Venus, because those are like relationship dynamics. And North Node is your destiny, like where you're going, and South Node is your karma, like where you're coming from. So if you meet someone around the time of your South Node, this is an astrology. If you're not aware of what that is, feel free to leave a comment. I will try to respond. South Node is basically your karma. So it's like the point on your chart that indicates what your lifetime was like in the last life. And then the North Node is where you're progressing in this life. So my North Node is in Leo, and my Venus is in Leo, and my vertex is in Leo. So anyway, whenever in August is Leo. So whenever I meet somebody new, usually is around August. And then same thing a lot of times when, like breakups and stuff can be like around December, because that's the opposite, December, January. So anyway, you can look at your own life. It doesn't have to be breakups. It could be like, moving, changing, like big changes, shifting from an old energy to a new energy. But these are all part of the cycles, right? Does this make sense? Is this helpful for you guys? I hope this is, especially because we're moving, like I said, on, I think it's Tuesday. Well, it's the 21st. It's somewhere between the 20th and the 22nd. It's kind of different based on your time zone, but that's the equinox. So the March 20 to 22nd portal, that's the equinox. And then the full moon was Friday. So it's like this full moon equinox portal. And what that means is it's just extra potent, right? We're in a portal of like huge energy, and like full moon is a huge energy. And then also, so is the equinox. So it can be a time of great changes. I get excited about great changes when they are, even if it's hard, because I think, okay, so that means I'm graduating from, hopefully, from learning a lesson, and then the next phase is going to bring the blessings. Because it's like I said, it never just stays hard all the time. So if you're going through the difficulty, okay, the blessings are coming. Now, if you're going through blessings, you can also say, okay, something not blessing will probably be following this, but I'm going to be prepared with awareness. I'm going to be prepared by not being shaken by it, by responding with consciousness and love and appreciating it, even in the difficult moment, right? So that's how we live conscious lives. Doesn't mean that we're always able to do that, right? So, but if you can, then that means you've really learned. And if you've been part of our community at any point and doing these practices, meditations, the breath work, yoga, all of the things that we do, fasting, cleansing, detox, being of service, all of these things are literally, it's the ingredients and literally it's the consistency of these things. It's not like, oh, I did a meditation one time and now I'm in like, it doesn't happen that way. It's consistency, going in, diving into the consciousness, consistency, regularly, and tapping into that. And what happens is the more you connect to the existence of life, which is the infinite eternal power of source energy, which is what meditation is meant for you to do, that you start to form a relationship to that energy, and then you start to form a deep bond with that energy, and then you start to realize you are one with that energy. Now, once you get to the point where you're like, I am one with that energy, then nothing can shake you, because the universe, the source of life, or God, whatever you want to call it, is infinite and eternal, and nothing can shake that energy. So once you've become one with that energy through enough consistent practice of connecting with it, then no matter what happens, you're just like, it's all in divine order because I am one with source energy, and I trust that this is happening for the highest and best of all. And so it is, and so it is. Let's see. Lori says, I think I'm in a Chiron return. Oh yeah. Well, Chiron return happens around 49 to 50. Amelia says, yes, I work at a psychiatric hospital, and I was just explaining to my patients that they could be feeling intense energy due to this full moon and the energy in the world. And my coworkers were looking at me like I'm crazy. That's funny, Amelia. Yeah, if people don't understand this, they always are going to think you're crazy when you talk about these things. But once you understand these things, it's almost like, how could you not talk about it? Or at least like help people to understand that that's part of the reason why things are the way they are, instead of like, oh, the world is just crap and it's all going to hell. No, it's not. It's actually just we're in a cycle, and that cycle is designed by God and the universe to wake people up. It's not an easy cycle. This is a difficult cycle. I've been through many difficult cycles, so I'm like, okay, difficult cycle. All right, we can handle it. But some people, this is the most difficult cycle of their life. Other people, this is the best cycle of their life. So, that process of realizing that everyone's in different cycles actually helps us to be more human and helps us to have a deeper compassion as well for ourselves and for others. Let's see, Becca says, yes, I love astrology insights and all of the input. I love you. Let's see, Amelia, yes, I love the astrology stuff. My South Node is in Aries, which I feel is why I go through a lot of pain that is to be transmuted and healed. Well, I'll tell you about Aries. So Aries was the god of war, but it's also a very leader, like a leader energy. So if you have the South Node there, it usually means that's what you are going, that's like your predominant energy in your past life. And depending on what house it's in also makes a big difference. But then you want to look at where's your North Node. So the Aries is opposite of, I think it's the opposite of Libra. Is it? No, Libra? I'm not sure. I think it's opposite of Libra. So if it is, then you could look at that, because Libra is like the opposite energy. It's like divine, harmony, feminine. And Aries is like masculine, war, leadership. So when you see you're coming from, and like generally, just to give you a little understanding of this, generally, if your South Node was in, for example, Aries, and you had that masculine leadership, kind of conflict-driven energy, then you will feel more comfortable in that energy in this lifetime, even though it's your past life. And your job in this life, or your purpose of this life, is to evolve past that into the new energy, which is your North Node, the complete opposite. And like I said, if it's Libra, then that's the divine feminine. It's led by Venus. So instead of Mars, it's Venus. It's the feminine. So maybe in your past life you were a man, and this life you're actually a woman, and you're like here to bring balance and harmony and beauty into the world. And so you can kind of see, like, if that's not comfortable for you to be the person that's the divine feminine and all of these other energies, that's your work, is to work on strengthening those energies in yourself. Because if it's your North Node, that's part of your purpose of this life. And as long as you're stuck in the South Node, you're going to be going through a lot of pain that has to be transmuted and healed. But once you've healed the South Node energy, you won't have that anymore. You won't have to keep going through the pain of the past of this old masculine energy. divine feminine energy allows life. It welcomes it with open arms. It transmutes with love and grace instead of through struggle. Hopefully that's helpful. Becca says, I can relate as a prior MHT, Amelia. Haha, keep doing your thing and sharing. You guys are so cute. I love you. Amelia, 8th house and North Node in Libra, yes. Yeah, so I have 4 planets in Libra. I have Saturn, Jupiter, Moon, and Pluto in Libra. And so I know the Libra energy very well. And if you have the North Node in Libra, it means that's where you're meant to evolve into. And but 8th house, like, once again, is a lot of death and rebirth. So that's probably why you were saying that. Lori, I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't found yoga right around the time I lost all my parents and a lot of family now. I'm in a cycle of friends dying too early right now, but also blessings because I'm also on the lookout for the blessings. Ah, yeah, well, it is a really important time of letting go, especially if you're losing people. Anytime you lose people, like my mother passed away when she was 56, but she lost her mind when I was 7. So she really, in my mind, she kind of passed away when I was 7. But anyway, the point was, when you lose somebody that's very close to you, like your mother, your parents, your family, or even your best friends or your dog, anybody, when you lose people like that close to you, I believe this is the universe's way that teaches us a few things. First of all, how to let go, because that's one of the biggest lessons of human life. Non-attachment, letting go, realizing we will all one day pass away, and the eternal nature of life, knowing that we are infinite eternal beings. So of course, just like we were talking about the leaves dying and then new life being born from that as one person passes away, more people are born. And that's the cycle of life. And like, we have to keep going through that because that's how we, move souls through this life, through this earth plane. And some go, some come, some go, some come. Birth, death, birth, death. And when we can see it from that larger, wider lens, to see life as this cycle, instead of seeing it like we're so attached to the person or the thing that's dying or that passed away, that we can move through the grief process faster and find more peace. And it's never easy. So I always feel for people that are losing someone, because it took me many years to heal from the grief of losing my mother. So I definitely can relate. But I just wanted to give you that, hopefully, that peace and that perspective. Let's see. Pamela says, I have a Libra stellium. Beautiful. I do too. That's so cool. Yeah, four planets is a stellium. 3 or 4 usually. But anyway, that's so cool. Which planets do you have, Pamela, on the Libra? Abigail says, I have good news. I received my visa this week. Yay! Good job, Abigail. I'm so excited for you. I'm literally starting to pack up my house today. Feel I'm shedding the old and flowing into the new. Lots of stress to come, but I'm ready for it. Oh, I'm so excited for you, Abigail. Abigail's moving to America from Europe, and I couldn't be happier for you. I feel like you're going to find your tribe here. You already have your tribe. It's us. But in your new home community, and I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. Let's see. Flora says, where can I find this extended astrology? I don't know my north or south, just I'm a Libra. Oh, okay. So, I always go on astro.com. You can get your free chart there, and you have to put it into the setting of extended chart, because that will give you the north node, south node, and a lot more points. Because the traditional chart, like, I don't know, they only give you certain planetary alignments, but if you do the extended chart, then it'll show you north node, south node, and other things like that. So you can also add in there the vertex, or I do different things. There's one called Juno that you can add that will talk about your relationships and stuff like that. So there's lots of points you can add in the extended chart selection. So that's what it's called, extended chart selection. And I just use astro.com. Another one that's kind of interesting, if you want, I found a cool app, and it's called The Pattern, and it's free. So go download the Pattern app. It's really interesting. You put in your birth information. It gives you, it's not so much like about your chart, but it gives you a reading about your soul. And then you can put other people in, and it shows you compatibility with other people. Let's see. Lori says, I don't usually share this, but I had some Jerry Springer thing happen on September 11th, 2001. My husband got caught with his cousin's wife. Oh, wow. This was a lot of healing. He made up with his cousin. We just visited in September. Well, he died this month, and I have to have a road trip from Arizona to Cali with her and her daughter, and it'll be the first time I get to forgive her and feel very karmically that I need to. Wow, Lori. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you for sharing. September 11th. Let's look. 2001. So that's literally a 21-year cycle. That's not even just a 12-year cycle. But if you look at that, it's exciting. You know, I want to tell you, I was just, it's going to be a 22-year cycle for you. When are you going to do it? Oh, where is it? Might be a 22-year cycle. Here's the point. Someone was saying, because it's the year 2022, that there is like, and right after the 2022 portal, it was actually a completion cycle of 22-year cycles. Now, I can be a testament for this, and actually it looks like you are too, Lori. I don't know if everybody here is having this feeling of completion of 22-year cycles, but I'll tell you, 22 years ago exactly, I was, let's see, because it's 2022, so 22 years ago, I was 18. And I shared this in our call last week in the teacher training call, but I wanted to just say it again because if you missed it, it was the worst year of my life. I mean, for anybody who knows me, who's read Journey to Joyful, my first book, or, you know, I've shared about this a little bit, but just the bigger picture, it was the worst year of my life. I had been saving myself for marriage. So I was a virgin until 18. And then I got raped by a guy that I knew that was dating my friend that year. I got pregnant. I had an abortion. I got suspended and arrested at school for drinking. I got kicked out of my house. And then and then I had my thyroid removed because I had a thyroid problem. I had to have that removed as a surgery. And then on top of all that, I actually, at the end of it, I got hit by a car while I was riding my bicycle and I died for several minutes. And that was the worst year of my life. And it was 22 years ago. And it was so interesting when I found out that this 2022 is a completion cycle of 22-year karmic cycles. And for whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, I can look at it from many perspectives, but I had a very, very difficult lessons that I had to learn through that. And what a blessing, because coming through all of that with, you know, I've been doing this work, teaching consciousness for 17 years. But even before that, I was always a coach. Like I was coaching people. I was a life coach since I was like in high school. I was always coaching people. Even when I was a mess, I still was coaching people because I had certain things that I did understand, even though I had certain things that I needed help with too. But anyway, this 22-year karmic cycle completing this year. And this year I'm going to be releasing the Flow State book, which I'm excited. I'm going to share more about that in a minute. But we're going to release the Flow State podcast. We have the Flow State Institute. We have the new Flow State teacher training manual. We're going to be doing the Flow State Festival in June for International Yoga Day in Miami. And we're also going to, what else? Oh, and we're going to be doing a documentary film about the children of the future for our big initiative that we're bringing healing for the mental health crisis into the school systems for the children and the school teachers in America. So literally this cycle is complete, you know, and it just feels so good. But when you're going through the dark point or like the hard time where you're still the little seed growing through the mud and you're like, why is this so difficult? I just want to give everybody inspiration, motivation to know that you can make it through. I mean, I am a testimony. It was not easy. Like I did not have the easy road. No silver spoon. Nobody helped me hardly. Like I just like pure sheer determination, consistency, disciplined daily action, effort, and inner motivation to grow and to thrive and to heal brought me to where I am today. And I'm so grateful for where I am. I have more to share in a bit, but anyway, just wanted to share that in case anybody here is also, like Lori said, going through the completion of a cycle. It's exciting. It's exciting. And I'm hoping that everybody is going through some good completion. Let's see. Pamela says, I have Pluto, Uranus, Sun, and Mercury. Oh, and Venus. Wow. So we both have Pluto because we're like born around the same time. And wow, that's so amazing. We're like twins on that. Lori, Libra 11th house, April 17 through 21. Amazing. Pamela, Lori, September 11th, 2001 was the day I brought my son home from the hospital. Wow, Pamela, that same day. That's amazing. See, that's the interesting thing, right? The cycles. So Pamela was having like probably the best day of her life, having a baby. And then, I mean, hopefully it was, imagine. And then Lori was having like a really opposite experience with her husband. So it's interesting to see how the cycles are doing that. Lori says, wow, Pamela, I say, yeah, 2K things I had started going south with my husband. 21-year cycle makes sense. Yeah. Dashima, that sounds like a really, really difficult year and a lot of growth as well. Same with you, Lori. Yeah, thank you, Lori. That's exactly on his Saturn return. Ah, Becca, thank you for sharing that. You're welcome. I mean, I always try to share things. I don't share that much of my private life unless I think it's going to be useful. Like, I'm not the type of person that's like, hey, reality show Dashima, because I don't like that vibe. You know, I just want to be like a bearer of good energy and positivity and bring consciousness into the world and healing. But in order to do that, sometimes you have to share the story of where I came from, you know, where we came from, so that people can see, oh, this person came through this as well. You're not just speaking at me or like teaching me from a book. You're teaching from experience. That's what a teacher really is. That's why so often we have these difficult experiences. I truly believe the difficulties that we face in life are preparing us so that we can be vessels of the, you know, like torch bearers or light workers in the world, and you can help others through those dark tunnels, through those dark times, by showing the way through. And the only way to show someone really how to get through the darkness is to been through it yourself. Really, you know, unless you're just enlightened. So if you're enlightened, that means you've been through it in a past life and you're bringing that wisdom through in this life. But if you just tell someone how to deal with their problems, but you don't have any experience, usually that just means like a hypocrite or like, you know, somebody that's like a preacher. You got to practice what you preach. Let's see. Amelia says, my parents divorced 22 years ago when I was 4. Wow, crazy. Amazing. Lori says, 12th house is my Libra with Mars and Pluto. Oh, wow. Amazing. You guys are so cool. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing because we are in this cycle. So that's what I was getting at. We're in this cycle specifically in the equinox coming up this week. The full moon just passed, and we have this opportunity to. Now, let's talk about what do you do with this opportunity, because that's something that we can really have more control over, right? Instead of like, oh God, we're in this cycle. Like, what do I do about it? Or like the whole planet is in a cycle. What do we do about that? Here's the thing. I was actually at an event with Sadhguru, and he was saying that the beautiful thing, and I felt this way too. That's why I liked what he said. He said, the people on the planet that are meant to be spiritual leaders are going to rise up and lead during these difficult times, because this is the dark part of the planet evolution right now. We're going through it with the wars, with the famines, with the environmental crisis, with the mental health crisis, with the pandemic, all that. So those who can rise out of it are going to be the leaders. Now, if it's too difficult to rise out of it and just be the light, then at least stay connected to community that's going to help you through it. Because there's only 3 things can happen. You're going to rise out and be a leader to help others. You're going to at least connect to community so that you can have people help you through it as well. Or you're going to flounder and suffer until the darkness subsides, which we don't know how long that will last. But we're hearing it's 2024, 2026. But it could be, it depends. You know, there's certain factors, but Pluto is going to be moving into Aquarius in 2024. That's why there's going to be a shift of energy in 2024. We're going to feel a lot more light, a lot more feminine energy in the planet. And that's going to feel really good to a lot of us who have been doing the work on this planet for a while and holding space for this masculine energy to heal. And then we're going to see like this shift of more feminine leadership. Doesn't mean it has to be women leading, but feminine leadership means like the energy is coming from love and compassion, and it's coming from a place of nurturing and healing, and like that's the energy of the divine feminine, allowing, like seeing that we're all interconnected, so like treating the planet with more respect, things like that. That's the divine feminine energy. And it doesn't have to be from a woman. It can be from a man. It can be from anything. It's just literally the energy of that is what's going to become predominant on the planet moving forward. But now, for the past however many hundreds or thousands of years, it's been predominantly the masculine energy, which is like using all of the resources from the planet, like raping the planet of the resources and not giving anything back, like polluting the planet, child sex trafficking or women trafficking, humans in general, or just the way that we're polluting with the factories to overproduce consumer goods to make profits. That is the masculine energy, that like work, business, push, at the expense of everything. We must win. We must, make money. The feminine is like allowing and trusting and loving. And so it's like a completely opposite energy. And so as we move into that, we learn how to do less and experience life in a better way, but to have more harmony and more grace and more beauty as the prevalent energy on the planet. Pamela says, it was a beautiful day because I had never seen anything as beautiful as my son, an angel. But it was 9/11 and I was in a very violent marriage. And I was wondering what kind of a world I had brought this little perfect soul into. It took many years to understand about the reasons for the dark places. I can understand why a really meaningful cycle has to take 21 to 22 years. Wow. Thank you for sharing, Pamela. I will say something about that. It's interesting because 9/11, which, like I said, is 21 years ago, going on 22, it actually was the same time that Pluto moved into Capricorn. So Pluto had been in Sagittarius for 20 to 24 years before that. And then 9/11 came and it was like this big wrecking ball. And it was showing, wow, this is what it feels like when Pluto moves into Capricorn. And that's exactly around the timing of that, interestingly to see. And now as that's moving out, we have the last purgation of destructive energies these next 2 years. In 2024, then we're going to see Pluto moving out of Capricorn finally after these 22 years. And then it's going to be going into Aquarius. So we're going to see Pluto, the planet of power, moving into the divine feminine Aquarius energy. So that's going to be really, really beautiful. And I'm so excited to see and feel that for everybody. I already feel it for the world, but I feel, we can be ahead of these curves in our energy. And I want to mention that too, because it's interesting because we can be ahead of the curve in our energy. Even if the planet is going through these destructive phases, we can actually grow past that faster by just doing the inner work and being conscious. So this is an interesting thing. That's why somebody like, for example, enlightened people, they're not being like smashed around by a wrecking ball right now, right? Instead, they're just doing the work and they're literally like contributing to help humanity through this dark time, because that's what we're here for, is to help each other through this dark time if we can. Now, like I said, if you can't, if you just need to be part of the community to help yourself, then that's also perfect. But wherever you're at, but the idea that there are certain people that like are not being smashed around by this energy, and it's not like all this karma like smashing. Instead, it's more like, all right, step up, serve. And it can still feel difficult a little bit because it's like, okay, nonstop like need of service right now. The planet needs a lot of service. I'll give you an example. One of my good friends, Michael Capone, he has a nonprofit. He works with crisis and disaster relief. It's called Global Empowerment Mission. And they go around like whenever there's a fire or an earthquake or flooding or tornadoes or hurricanes, anything like that, then they come in and they provide aid to the people who lose their homes or lose everything, and people are dying and all these tragedies are happening, and they come in and they bring them food and water necessities. And he's been like so busy. I mean, because this time on earth is just a continuous purgation of just destruction energies, and so he's like so busy, like he just always doing that. And right now they're in Russia, and I mean they're in kind of like Ukraine, Poland. They created a whole warehouse, and they've been receiving like millions of pounds of food and donations to bring to the people of Ukraine during this destructive time on earth. So this time on earth is very interesting because, like, when you're called to serve, it's like if you're called to the military, right? And it's like wartime. It's like, it's go time, right? It means like, all right, you have to be on. You can't, for example, be like floundering around with lots of problems in your own life, because when you're in a mode of service, and in the yoga tradition, there's a word for this, which is seva. But when you're in the seva, or in your dharma, which means that you're in your energy of service and living your purpose, dharma transcends karma. So the more that you just focus on your dharma and being of service, selfless service to humanity, to others outside of yourself, you transcend and actually heal the karma. So this is one way that you can get out of karmic cycles faster, is just become immersed in a field of service. That's one of the reasons why I focus on training teachers instead of just teaching yoga, because I'm still teaching yoga when I'm training teachers, or I'm still doing my work, but then I'm actually empowering you to become a leader, to become a part of the team, let's say, so that you can actually help yourself more to transcend your karmic cycles and to get out of that, so that you can just rise up and be of service and live your dharma and live your purpose and be in the light more when you're of service. So that's why I focus on training teachers, not just teaching yoga, just in case you were wondering. But both of them are very beneficial. So like when you're starting out, of course, you're going to be just teaching, helping people, coaching them, and you still transcend a lot of karma. But they say, like, if you can impact one person, obviously that will help you tremendously, help them tremendously to rise out of the karmic cycles. And then eventually, if you're part of our community, if you wanted to, you could join our team and help us to be a part of the team that trains teachers, because then you'll even be expediting that process and rising more into your purpose through that journey, if that's what you're meant to do. And I think the universe will always let you know if it is. Anyway, so yeah, leave a comment if you guys have any thoughts about that. This is just something that came to me because I've been going, I've been doing these like lives and ceremonies and different things around the equinoxes and the moons and stuff for many years. And I was like, what's interesting is to think that, maybe people don't really even realize why we do it. That's what I was thinking. It would be good to like explain this idea of the cycles of the seasons, the cycles of life, the cycles of karma, the cycles of death and rebirth, even like this. That's a whole nother conversation, like death and rebirth, which is the cycle of, we'll call it reincarnation, right? But what the ancient, like Tibetans and all of the, more ancient mystics taught about reincarnation is that our soul is infinite, right? Do we all agree soul is infinite? Leave a comment, click the like if you believe soul is infinite. Now your soul is infinite, but for whatever reason, this is how it's designed, that you carry your karma from lifetime to lifetime. Now, if you're aware of that, it's interesting, because then if the soul is infinite and you carry your karma from lifetime to lifetime, then you realize that actually there is really only, we can say like there's only one lifetime, right? The one energy, which is the soul, and then you just have different bodies and different storylines, right? But you have this one experience of existence, which is you, your soul, the depth of you. And so when you understand that, you realize the more that you can clear any misaligned energies from your field in one lifetime, then you can transcend even the idea of reincarnation if you want to. And so there was an interesting conversation between the Dalai Lama not long ago and the communist leader of China. And the Chinese guy was like, next lifetime you come back, you have to be a communist in China. And then the Dalai Lama says, then I will not choose to come back. And it was kind of his way of saying, he gets to choose. Like once you've evolved to a certain level of your consciousness, you choose if you come back or not. And he chose, like he chooses to come back, and enlightened masters choose to come back to be of service to humanity, to help the humans of this planet to grow, evolve, rise up out of their karma, rise out of their challenges, see the bigger picture, understand existence. That's the purpose of enlightened masters choosing to return to the planet, because they don't have to. They are in the choice. But if you're in karma, then you have to. You don't get a choice. You return to another lifetime, in another family, in another circumstance, based on the energy that your soul needs to evolve through the karma it has accumulated up until that time period. Does that make sense? Hopefully you guys understand this. This is kind of a little bit of a conversation on understanding evolution, soul evolution, karma, transcending karma, cycles, patterns, and so much more. What a cool conversation. Leave a comment if you guys have any questions. Let's see. I got somebody in the chat. Lori is saying, yes, infinite, internal, infinite and eternal. And that's what we are. And so when we start to see ourselves in that way, I feel like it's super beautiful, because then we start to see, okay, so I'm infinite and eternal. So whatever's happening in this moment is just a blink, you know. And even this whole lifetime, if you think about the eternal nature of existence, this whole lifetime is a blink, right? And everybody that you ever talk to, like maybe your grandparents or anything, they'll be like 100 or like 90 or something. They'll be like, wow, this lifetime went by like a blink. And it really does feel that way. Even this moment right now, if you look back on the past, you could be like, wow, this lifetime like went by like that. I'm already 40. Let's see. Pamela says, I feel like I cut the cord, the karma with my ex-husband by finding forgiveness for him. Oh, that's so beautiful, Pamela. That's exactly what it is. So when we evolve and when we grow to a place where we can forgive and we let go of somebody who hurt us, and we realize they were not hurting us, it was our karmic agreement that we made with their soul on a higher plane, that they would do this, and so that we would have to learn this lesson. Maybe it was boundaries, maybe it was self-love, maybe it was letting go, maybe it was forgiveness. We had to create a scenario so that someone could be a perpetrator, so that we would have to feel victim, and then we would have to learn that we are not a victim, so that we could actually let go of that karma, and we could cut the cord, and we could forgive, and then we could realize that all is one, and then we could realize that we actually called that in so that we could grow and so that we could evolve. And the moment that we do that, then all of a sudden, like the angels in heaven all opens up, and it's like, ah, and you start to see miracles showing up, because that's confirmation from the universe that you learned that lesson and you evolved to the next level. And that's what I really see. And then you start to see more beautiful things showing up. Is that right, Pamela? Amelia says, I have a question about karma or a certain pattern that keeps coming up. Like, for example, if you keep learning the same lesson over and over with abusive relationships, is it because you didn't learn it the first time? All my karma has been coming up to me. I feel in all these terrible relationships and breakups. Ah, that's a great question, Amelia. Okay, so yes, I feel like we will keep learning the same lesson over and over until we really learn it, right? You're not going to get the same lesson and if you learned it. So let's look at what is the root of abusive karmic relationships. 100% usually it has to do with self-worth. Self-worth is tied to self-love. Now, self-worth is one of those really strange things, because a lot of times we think we value ourselves. We got to look at every little thing that we do in our life and say, oh, am I valuing myself there? Am I valuing myself here? Am I valuing myself here? Look at all the other dynamics of your life, your career, what you do with your time. One thing that I saw for myself, for example, was let's say like wasting a lot of time on social media, scrolling. Now think about that. That's a simple example because a lot of people do it, but you're scrolling. Let's say you do that like an hour a day. Now that hour a day is now, you're telling the universe your time is worth nothing because your time is so valueless that you will waste it just doing this like very unhealthy behavior, right? And same thing with every other thing in life, right? So also with what you're willing to put up with people. Like if somebody keeps doing certain things to you and you're allowing it, or you're forgiving them over and over, or you're making excuses for them, or whatever the dynamic, and you say, oh, because I love them, or because this or that, it's okay, I'm going to allow it. That's you telling the universe that you don't value yourself, so you're going to allow this. And when you choose to take your power back, now this is a huge Kali moment in the yoga tradition. We have this Kali goddess where she just literally like cuts off people's head and she's holding it, it's bleeding, like literally cutting energy off and being like, no, I don't allow that, and being very strong with that decision and declaration of no. No is a healthy energy, and it's a boundary, and it's a saying of, I don't allow that. My time is more valuable than that, and I choose better for myself. And then in replacement of that, it's better to have nothing than to have somebody that treats you bad, right? And so during those periods of nothingness, which is like having no relationship, working on yourself, really diving deep into what does self-love look like in my life, right? Is it a hot bath every day? Is it working out, doing my yoga practice? Is it meditating daily? Is it, spending time in nature? Is it doing things for others that actually deserve my time? For example, maybe my mother or my family, or somebody even volunteering at a homeless shelter can be more beneficial use of your time than giving your time to an abusive person that devalues you, right? So it's just like shifting the focus completely to yourself and to only those people and energies in your life that are worthy of your time. And therefore you're taking your power back. And as you take your power back and replace destructive, wasting energies on nourishing energies, and focus on your dharma, and focus on your inner work, and focus on your self-care and your self-love practices, and creating ways that you can serve the world and giving back, then all of a sudden the energy and the tides will shift. And then all of a sudden you're not attracting these abusive people. And if you are, they're just coming in to give you a little test, like, oh, are you gonna bite this, are you gonna take this little tease or whatever kind of and go back into the old pattern? Or are you going to say no and go back in the positive direction that you're choosing? And every time you say no, you cut it off, you let it go, and you move towards the positive energy and where you're valued and where you're loved and where you're loving yourself and you're valuing yourself. Then you're strengthening that relationship to the energy of self-love, self-value, and self-worth. And then as you strengthen that energy, then you'll never again allow somebody to come in a weird, abusive, neglectful energy in your life again, because you'll just be like, that's that energy that I cut off and I'm never going back there. And you can smell it from a mile away, and you say, no, doesn't matter how many mansions you have or whatever, you are not welcome in my life if you're going to be that type of person that's destructive or abusive, or let's say whatever, dishonest even. Does that make sense, Amelia? Hopefully that's helpful for you, because this is something I think a lot of people deal with. I actually have been on a journey of that in my own life, and I realized it was so interesting because sometimes things come in a package, like an external package, where it's like almost hard to tell in the beginning, like if it's going to be a good or a bad energy for you, right? So let's see, she said, yes, that makes so much sense. Thank you. You're welcome. Pamela says that's exactly right. Beautiful. Yeah. So for example, I had this guy I met, and I actually met him through this really beautiful friend of ours. She's like a very high level, like billionaire with her husband and her 2 kids, and she owns a school, and she's amazing. She goes to the Oneness Temple, and she's very, very evolved and beautiful soul. And she introduced me to this guy, and she like very highly, spoke of him. Like, he's such a great guy, but he just got out of a relationship, and the woman cheated on him and left him, and left him for the tennis coach or whatever kind of thing. And anyway, so when he met me, he's like, let's get married. And like, he was like, it was a very like red flags, because he was like, wanted me to move in with him the first day and wanted to have a kid with me like right away. But that was already a red flag, which was fine because it wasn't abusive. But then he did things that were not healthy. Like, he showed up to our date 30 minutes late, and he, I could tell he had been drinking because I could smell it, but I asked him if he'd been drinking, and he said no. So then I was like, okay, I can't trust if he's being honest or not. And then he's like, I was drinking last night. I was like, if you were drinking last night, you must have been drinking a lot, because I smell it today. And then we watched a movie, and he fell asleep the whole time and snored the whole time. It was just like, not, but it wasn't abusive, right? So it wasn't like, oh, this abusive guy, but it was just like not the vibe, right? It's just not valuing my energy, and it wasn't in a good alignment with what I know that I deserve and want as a relationship, right? So to me, it was interesting because, he's like super wealthy, like really, really wealthy, has like all these mansions, and like he's friends with Tony Robbins and Richard Branson, and he has like all these like really high level friends, and he's like wanted to do all these things. And I was just like, none of that matters. Like, none of that matters if you have all that and you can't even show up on time and for our first date, and you fall asleep, and I can't even trust if you're telling the truth. So, like, it's a beautiful thing, because to me, it was very easy to be like, that's a no, because I have very strong boundaries. I had a lot of men like that in my life who come along with all these mansions and stuff. And it's like, it doesn't matter to me, because I'd rather have my beautiful life alone with my puppy and my beautiful friends and my family and like all the good things that I have going on, than like have a guy that's a project, And I couldn't even think, where could I even start to help this guy with his problems? I mean, I could have coached him. I said, I will coach you, but I would never be in a relationship with you. And I told him that. It was very clear. But it was interesting because, it showed up, and I wanted to share this story for Amelia specifically because, sometimes you get these experiences that show up, not to be like, oh no, the pattern is still there, but to realize, to show the universe, to prove that I have overcome that pattern forever, and that I have a boundary that's so strong. It doesn't matter who you know, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you have. It's your energy and how you show up. That's the only criteria that I base my assessment of whether somebody's worthy of being in my life or not. And it doesn't matter how wealthy they are, right? So a lot of people kind of correlate money with worth, like, oh, I have all this money, so I have this worth, but it's not really like that. Like, a lot of people are very wealthy and they don't have a lot of self-worth, or they don't know how to treat people properly, they don't know how to value people. So it's more about energy than any of these material things. And that's the important thing for everybody to realize. And so no matter what somebody has, now, yeah, at the same time, you don't want to be with a guy that's like has nothing and no house and homeless, nothing, like, you want to obviously have somebody that's got their life together, but like all the other extra stuff doesn't make their character better. And in fact, sometimes it makes it worse, because then they actually have an inflated sense of self, and they're like, I am all this, when none of that is who you are. You are not any of your external realities. All you are is what you are inside and how you show up. And that's what consciousness is about. It's like showing up. And that's where I see it anyway. And then when it comes to relationships, it has to be based on that, the connection, the soul to soul appreciation, adoration, and attraction that two souls have together. And that's where it all can be built from. Not like, oh, you have this, oh, that'll be great because then I can live in your mansion. Who cares? Like, I have a house. I don't need to live in anyone's mansion. But like, ultimately, some people make those decisions, and that's a karmic choice, to marry someone for their money. And then usually those relationships end in divorce because they married for the material or the external factors, and the actual connection wasn't there. So you can never have a healthy long-term relationship when there's no true connection. Or if you do, it's just a superficial contract. It's like, all right, I'm your arm candy and you are my sugar daddy. That's a contract some people make and they're happy with it. But for me, I feel very clear that a relationship I would allow in my life, especially for a long-term partner, because I want to have children and everything, that they have to show up in a lot of conscious ways. And the only way that I can ensure that happens is to cut off anybody who shows up any other way. And then it's like panning for gold. It's like, all right, the gold will sift itself to the top by showing up in beautiful ways. And that's when I feel that's when I'll know that I found my life partner. Hopefully that's helpful, Amelia. I don't know. I think that some people find their life partner very easily, but then they go through other things. Like, for example, with Lori, she was saying how her husband cheated on her and stuff. You never know. Like, you feel like you found your partner and then all of a sudden they do that kind of thing. A lot of people go through lots of stuff. I'd rather be the person that waited. Now I'm already 40, but I waited because I'm holding out for the person that's a true life partner, that I don't have to deal with any of that or go through a divorce or deal with them cheating, nothing like that. I went through all of that with the non-marriage partners so that I could get to one. If I'm going to be with someone for my whole life, I'm going to make sure that they are the person that just us. And we love each other. And we have that such a deep appreciation, respect, and love and adoration and shared vision for the future that we would never think to be with someone else, because we're so clear that there's nothing better than this. So anyway, okay, hopefully that's helpful. I don't know. Sometimes I share my situations and I'm like, I wonder what people think. It's funny because I feel like, because I'm single, I think a lot of people don't know if I'm single or not, but I'm just going to say it because I'm single, but I'm so happy with my life. That's why I'm single and I don't put up with anything. So if somebody's like bringing problematic energy, I immediately cut it off. Whereas other people, they try to like work with it. And, like, for example, even that guy, my friend was saying, oh, yeah, he's a project, but she was kind of sort of encouraging me to take him on as a project if I wanted to, because he was a worthwhile project, meaning like at the end there was this beautiful pot of gold if I could help him through his problematic energy. But I was like, I'm at a stage in life that I don't want to do that. I've done that with a lot of guys. I had multiple relationships where I was their healer, I was their coach, I was their mother, and I realized I don't want that. I want a guy that's an equal. I want somebody that's already done the work. I want somebody that's showing up as a divine, masculine, beautiful soul that knows how to respect the divine feminine and adore and appreciate all that I am, and not somebody who is a project that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he has a lot of issues, but I can work with that. And some people are the opposite. Some people are like, okay, well, I can work with his issues. I can help him. And that's an old pattern that I also had, which was a pattern of I can help him, or, I can heal this person. And if you notice in your life that you have that as a pattern, now some people don't mind it. I personally felt that was one of those patterns that I would overcome. And I was celebrating when I overcome that, because when I overcame that, I was like liberated from an old karmic pattern. So you got to look at it, and say, okay. And then other people, they're married. And so they choose to stay with this person for a lifetime. And even through all the karmic disrespect moments, whether it's cheating or lying or, various things, that they say, okay, well, I signed up for this. We have a contract. It's marriage, and we're going to stick through it through good times and bad. And that's what marriage is about. So that's the interesting thing, because marriage is one of those things where it's a contract that says through sickness and health, through good times and bad. And you're like, okay, so if you cheat on me, if you do this, if you hurt me, if you lie, I'm contracted to stay, and that's why I never got married, because I was like, I don't vibe with that. I'm like, no, if you cheat and lie and do bad stuff, I'm out. And that's why I was like, I'm never going to sign a contract that says that, because I'm an honest person. If I sign a contract, I'm going to stick to the contract. So I'm like, okay, I got to find the guy that I know 100% that if I'm signing this type of contract, that I'm not going to have to worry about him being a stray dog or something. There will never be that contract signing if I even had an inkling of an idea that that was possible. And I have a very strong intuition. So you got to also work with your intuition when it comes to people, right? It's like, I can see it within the first few months. And that's why I usually, like, I had several relationships, of course, in my life that were like years long, but most relationships, I ended it within 3 months, because I was like, okay, I can see where this is not compatible in the long term. And I just end it, instead of like, oh, let's try to make it work. Because a lot of people try to make things work, and that's where we suffer. You don't want to make things work. You want things to be working. And then, like, it's beautiful. Because this is one of the things that I learned from Sri Ravi Shankar, which I love. It's about relationships. He was saying most people are sitting here looking at each other, like trying to get each other to fulfill something, right? And that they're looking to each other for the fulfillment of something, and therefore they're always in some form of conflict or deficiency of feeling not met or fulfilled on certain levels. But a really healthy relationship is where you're both looking forward and in the same direction. And if you're looking forward in the same direction, then you're going to be going that direction either way, because that's the direction of your soul journey. And people that are doing that can stay together for eternity, because they're looking forward in the same direction, moving in the same direction, and it's a beautiful union, right? But if you're looking at each other to fulfill something, you're going to always feel a little conflict, a little deficiency, a little like not getting what you need, because you're turning your happiness over to the other person and expecting them to fulfill something for you, which that is not what relationships should be. But anyway, that's what they became on this earth plane for some reason, but that's not what it's about. So I hope y'all agree. Let's see, leave a comment if you agree. Becca says, you are amazing, love. I'm right here with you on that for sure. Oh, I love you, Becca. So happy that Becca's here. By the way, Becca has been with us for a long time. She actually was in we did a teacher training in Mexico several years ago, maybe 4 years ago by now. And then she's been my assistant on and off for a couple years as well. And so beautiful, such an angel in the world. And I'm so happy to have you a part of our community. By the way, we do have many opportunities I think I've talked about this a little bit over the last couple of months, but just different opportunities that are opening up for people who want to be more involved in what we're doing. And actually had a really cool thing came to me where I'm going to be hiring a number of teachers I'm going to start with graduates from our program, because I prefer if you've already done our program, but then we would open it up to people who are outside of our program, but you have to have been trained as a yoga teacher and certified. But anyway, as we launch the Children of the Future initiative, which is happening over the next couple months, in June we'll be launching, that we'll be hiring a number of teachers to assist us to be able to provide customer service and support for the teachers that we're training in the school systems. And it will be virtual, so you can work remotely, but they're going to have lots of questions. So we want to make sure that people have enough support that can answer those questions. But you have to be a yoga teacher to answer a lot of these types of questions, right? So it's like questions about yoga and meditation and consciousness and healing and children and all these things. So anyway, really excited about that. And if you're interested, if you're watching this and if you'd like to work with us, feel free to email my assistant Suki at support@flowstate.yoga. And we're kind of like compiling everybody into a list that's interested in working with us. And then whenever we do start the initiative and have that open availability, then we'll be reaching out and giving you more information. But anyway, it's going to be super exciting. We're aiming to train all 3.6 million teachers in America in the school system. So it's a huge mission. And so that would require us to train like 300,000 teachers per year. So we're really setting ourselves up to win with this. And we're building the team, we're building the technology, we're building infrastructure, and we have a lot of things in place already. We're also going to be doing a documentary film. We'll start filming that at the Flow State Festival in June. And if you guys would like to come to the Flow State Festival in June, there's a limited number of tickets available, and we didn't start selling the tickets yet. But if you'd like to be on the VIP waiting list to be notified when the ticket sales are available, please email Suki at support@flowstate.yoga. Just let her know that you would like to come to the festival. It's going to be 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 17th through 19th. And I'm excited about that. It's going to be so beautiful. It's a Flow State Yoga Festival for International Yoga Day, and lots of amazing teachers and musicians and speakers and a dance party, cacao ceremony, and all sorts of really, really cool stuff. Also availability for children. So if you have kids, you can bring your kids too, and there will be like classes for the kids as well. And it's at a beautiful place right on the beach. So you'll be able to go to the beach, go to the spa, enjoy your life. And anyway, so hopefully you can come. Like I said, email Suki at support@flowstate.yoga if you are interested in coming to the Flow State Festival. Let's see. Lori says, I'm thinking of coming. Oh, good. You should. Anybody who wants to, there's a limited number of tickets, but we're excited. Anybody that can be there, it's going to be really nice. And there's a hotel. There's a couple of hotels. The one that it's at is a very, very high level, like 5-star place, so it's very expensive. But they also have another property like really like a few blocks away that's like really a better, like more affordable. It's also on the beach. So anyway, there's affordable places to stay and very expensive places to stay as well. But anyway, you're also welcome to just make it into a little vacation weekend and enjoy the time. Also, if you know anybody who might want to come, we have an affiliate program. If you're part of our community at the Flow State app, you can sign up for the Flow State app at theflowstate.app, download the app, and you will automatically have an affiliate link in your account. So you can promote the festival with that link, and anybody that signs up through your link, you will earn a commission for that. So that's another way as a part of our community that you can make money. And, we always have like many ways that we've created to help you to be able to create abundance for your life, joy, happiness, healing, and to be of service to humanity. So that's what this whole Flow State community is all about. And we're just getting started, honestly. In the last couple of years, I really put my heart and soul into building a lot of resources for everybody. And we're getting ready, like I said, to launch the Flow State podcast in the next, I think, month or two. And we'll also be launching my book. So that's the other news that I wanted to share. It's exciting because I started writing the Flow State book during the pandemic. I wrote 300 pages, which I was really, really proud of myself. I was in Hawaii and I wrote 300 pages in like 2 months. So I was like on fire. I was swimming with the dolphins every day, living the life and writing this book. And it's really come out amazing. And so then like recently this amazing company contacted me that launches books, and they were like, hey, we want to help you launch your next book. And they were like, do you have a book? And I said, actually I do. And it's amazing because they have a million email list from book buyers that they've sold books in the past. And so they're going to be able to launch my book to this big million people email list. And anyway, so I don't have a date yet, but I was thinking of launching, depending on how fast we can get it set up. If we could get it set up to launch in time for the June festival, that would be amazing. But if not, then it might be like August. But anyway, we'll see the date, but I'm aiming for that. And I only have like 20 pages left to write. So I'm super, super excited because that'll only take me like a week. So I can pretty much finish that book in like a week, probably maybe 2 weeks, and then send it to the editor, get it all finished, get it up on, it's going to be on Amazon to start with. And then I'm also going to do like a audiobook. So I'm going to do all these things. No, it's support@flowstate.yoga. Sorry. Yeah. So the email is support@flowstate.yoga. Thank you, Becca, for putting that up there. So yeah, support. I'll just type it in for everybody who's able to see this in the chat, but it's support@flowstate.yoga. And yeah, you can just message my assistant. Her name is Suki, but oh, I think I sent that just to Lori. Oops. Yeah. Lori, if you want to repost it. No, let me see. Whew, okay. Anyway, so it's about time. I think we're going to take our little break. And then when we come back from the break, we will do a little meditation and sound healing and calling in all the goodness and the blessings and the miracles for your life. So stay tuned for that. And if you can think of any questions that you have about anything that I've shared, feel free to post those in the comments and we'll go over that when we come back from the break. All right, see you in a bit. 15 minutes. Be right back. Hello, we're back. We're back. We're better than ever. We're always better than ever. Let's see. We got some comments in the chat. Flor said, I did read your chapter of the Law of Intention. It was inspiring. Looking forward to the whole book. Oh, exciting. Thank you. Super excited for the book too. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the enthusiasm. Amelia, what are good ways to deal with grief? Yoga practices, breath work, etc. Oh, that's a great question, Amelia. I will definitely answer that. We can do that first, and then we'll go into our ceremony. Come here, baby. Look, mi amor, she's doing better. If anybody was following me on Instagram before my Instagram got hacked, you can see mi amor, she wasn't feeling that good, but now she's feeling better. But now I'm trying to get her trained in a new vibe because she wants to get up every day and she wants to go outside like 5 times a day, which I don't blame her. Honestly, like it's a good energy. You go outside 5 times a day, but it's inefficient, like for my life, because I can't really get anything done because she always wants to go outside. So I was like, okay, we're gonna give her a new vibe, and I'm trying to train her to go to the bathroom inside on these little grassy pads. But anyway, long story short, she's not appreciating the new vibe because she's like, no, I like to go outside 5 times a day. Anyway, so she was a little upset with me this morning, but she's doing better. And look at she's doing so good. Hey, nice baby, say hi, puppy. Baby angels. Say hi. She's the best baby. She really is. All right, she's just gonna sleep right there while we talk. Okay, so by the way, I have this amazing drink I was just gonna share. I got this many years ago. If you've ever watched my old YouTube videos, I have a video about this. It's called Medicine Dressing Recipe, and it's like, I don't know, 2008 or something. But anyway, I made this. I found out many years ago when I went to this Chinese medicine doctor because I had been having an issue with my adrenal fatigue. So if you've ever felt like tired a lot, you might have adrenal fatigue, which means that your adrenal glands become exhausted because they're producing too much adrenaline, which usually is from drinking coffee frequently, like daily, or having a lot of caffeine, or it could be also from just stress or any kind of thing, like pushing yourself. That's what I was doing. I was doing too much work. So anyway, basically, it's one of the things that can contribute to burnout. And anyway, so it was like, I think 14 years ago, I was experiencing that. And I got prescribed. It's just like a very simple thing. You can actually order it online, but it's called Hu Hu Shi, and it's a Chinese medicine cooking wine. So it's like a herbal wine. It's black. You can see it's like black. I mix this with aloe and a little bit of coconut probiotic drink. But anyway, it's great. So when you drink it, it's supposed to restore your adrenal glands. Oh yeah, Flor says the drink is in your 3-stage book. That's right. That's exactly it. I don't know if anybody tried that. Thank you for the posting and sharing that. I forgot. Yeah, this is actually in the 3-stage energy diet. And so if you've read that book, you might have seen it in there, which is really, really interesting, So I don't know if everybody always tries everything that I put in there, but if you're interested, it's really nice because it doesn't have like the best flavor. That's why I mix it with like aloe and a little bit of like passion fruit flavored coconut probiotic drink. But if you drink it every day, or you could mix it with your salad dressing, you can do different things with it. But it's supposed to restore your adrenal glands, and that can help you tremendously in many different ways. One of the reasons that people feel burned out is, like I said, from adrenal fatigue, and most people don't realize it. So you could be like so tired and you're like, why am I so tired all the time? And sometimes it's dehydration as well. Sometimes you're just literally like pushing yourself too much. And sometimes you're not getting enough sleep. And sometimes it's mental exhaustion. And sometimes it's being on the computer or any devices or TV too much, because that's also very exhausting for your mind. So there's many reasons that you could become exhausted. Another thing that can make you feel tired is your gut, right? So I do a lot of cleansing every month. I do cleansing. So actually, I'm in the middle of a cleanse right now. I didn't even tell you guys because I do it all the time. But if you guys would like to get into the cycle of cleansing with me as part of our community, that's another thing that I highly encourage. And if you want, if you're a part of this community, you should have the 7-day green smoothie cleanse. I usually do between 3 to 10 days every month, and just like complete liquid cleansing. This time I decided to include blended soup. So it's like blended vegetable soup. I put in the Vitamix, but basically like last night I made a really nice one. It had cauliflower, kale, spinach, some tomatoes, and what else? Garlic, ginger, and celery. And then I put hemp seeds and a little bit of collagen, marine collagen powder. And then I blended it. And also I have this amazing salt. If you've ever tried black truffle salt, is like, oh, so good. Black truffle salt with a little bit of nutritional yeast. Anyway, it's amazing. High protein, keto soup, hardly any, no carbs, no sugar, and no starch. Really, really healthy. Very, very filling, very delicious. And anyway, I made that soup last night because I'm on this cleanse. So sometimes when you do a cleanse, you can include like soups or blended soups. You know, it's just really cutting out heavy foods, toxic foods, any animal products, any fried, you know, anything like that. Anyway, and then during that time, I'm loading up on these types of things, which is like restoring the adrenals and herbs and probiotics. I also got a bunch of enzymes, and then doing 4 sessions of colon hydrotherapy. It may sound like a lot, but it's amazing. It's actually like all worth it. It's not like, oh God, it's a hassle. It's more like, yay, I feel so great. So it does feel really, really good. The other thing I have to encourage is drinking enough water, because that's kind of like the one element that can make or break your experience. And also the colon hydrotherapy is huge. I've also been doing Epsom salt baths. That's why Mia Moore got all sick, because she like came in the bath and she drank the water. But anyway, baths, a lot of scrubs, because you want to think about your skin is also an organ. So you want to cleanse and really detoxify the skin, and also your internal organs, your external organs, your hair, your scalp. I've been doing a lot of like oil treatments on my hair, and you know, just I make it a ritual. So like when we were talking about earlier, like self-worth, self-care, I'm the queen of that. Like self-care, I'm so good at that. Like I have this amazing bathtub, and I like to be in there every day if I can. If you have a bath, highly, highly encourage you to do that regularly, and just give yourself that beautiful, loving attention that you need, because that's where you restore your energy. It's also a really great place for meditation. Like I'll meditate in there and I have like deep insights, and I can visualize like the whole week and really get clear on everything that I'm manifesting. And it's just such a powerful way, because when you're in water, it's like also a conduit for amplifying energy and amplifying intention. So if you're in the water and you're blasting the universe with like your beautiful vision, it amplifies whatever it is that you're manifesting. The other thing that's super cool, if you live by the ocean, I actually live over here by the beach, and like I haven't been in the ocean for a while. And yesterday it was so cool, because where I live, there's a sandbar. So basically the water gets very, very shallow, like in the middle. And then you can walk out there, and then it's like so shallow, it's only this deep. And I can like lay in the middle of the ocean, like on the sandbar. And Mia Moore was there on my lap or on my belly, and I was laying there in the middle of the ocean. It was like, it was the best. Anyway, just get in the water as much as you can around the full moon, because the water amplifies the energy. Water with like I said, in the ocean, in the river, in the lake, even in the shower, you know, go to the spa, go in the steam, or in your bath, whatever kind of way you can, but just dousing yourself in water, soaking in it, and meditating while you're there to amplify whatever it is you're calling in. So Lori says, I am ready for a cleanse, and I make detox warm soups too. Oh, beautiful. I take amazing baths every day. Epsom salt, baking soda is always there, but I add magnesium flakes and essential oil. Oh, beautiful. Let's see what else everybody's saying. Lori said, okay, so Lori said, I wrote a blog post on yoga for grief. I'm still editing it. Not kidding. Last night. Oh, amazing, Lori. You definitely got to share that with Amelia. Share it in when you finish it, post the link in the app and then everybody can read it. That'd be great. She says, I'm getting a puppy today. So, today. So is bringing her home. Her name is Sage. She's a silver lab. Oh, amazing. I experienced this as well. I'm going to have to try. Wow, Lori. Well, yeah, definitely post that grief article in the app from my son. Oh, okay. Amelia says, wow, Lori, that's amazing. So synchronistic. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about grief. And then for sure, if you're a part of the app, if you're not a part of the app, go to the flowstate.app, download the app for free in the App Store. Lori's going to post her article about yoga for grief. That would be really, really great. Thank you for doing that, Lori. But anyway, when it comes to grief, I'm going to say there's a few major components to healing grief. Grief is energy that's stuck in your heart. If you want to think about it like this, when you have a relationship with something, whether it's a person or something in life, and then you lose that thing, that's what we usually go through an experience that we call grief. So grief is basically the pain of loss, the pain of loss. Now, grief gets stuck in our heart chakra. Now, a lot of times people smoke cigarettes and they say that cigarette smoking is a way for people to numb the feeling of grief. So a lot of times if you see someone smoking a lot, it's because they have some kind of deep, unhealed, unreconciled energy of grief. So that's sad to see. But anyway, the point is you don't have to hold on to it. Grief is an energy I've experienced many times, specifically like when I lost my mother, I was in grief for a very, very long time. And I had to sit with it for many years. And it would come back in the form of sadness. And sadness is this deep, deep, depressed heart energy. And sometimes it's even pain, like a shooting pain or an aching pain of feels constricted. So that's the feeling of it. Now, when it comes to healing it, there's a few different components. First of all, you want to do in your meditation, get clear on what is it that you're grieving. Sometimes we grieve things that could be, for example, just an old version of ourselves. For whatever reason, we were attached to it. It could be an old home. It could be an old relationship. It could be a family member that passed. It could be a pet that passed. It could be for the whole world. Like you could be grieving because of the world. You could be grieving because of the war. Like there's so many things that you could grieve about. So it's just an energy, right? So that we feel pain about something that we were feeling connected and attached to predominantly that has left our life. So that's where grief comes from. Now, the conscious way out of it, right? If we could just be like enlightened, would be to say, okay, well, like what we talked about earlier, the cycles of life, everything comes and goes, everything is born and then dies, everything has a cycle, but the eternal nature of the soul is eternal. Therefore, nothing really ever leaves. It only leaves the physical realm, but it continues eternally and infinitely in the higher realms. So therefore, nothing ever leaves. Therefore, what am I grieving? What did I really lose? Nothing, because it's still with me. Now, that's the way to like wrap your mind around it, but it doesn't really necessarily help this painful feeling in the heart in the beginning. The painful feeling in the heart is most remedied with breath work and stillness and self-care and movement and yoga. Because when there's an energy that's stuck anywhere, but especially like in the heart, then it's very hard. If you just sit with it, sometimes it just stays stuck, right? You have to move it. And the way to move it is breath, kundalini, kriyas, mantra, exercise, swimming, dancing, cardio, particularly things that make you bring energy into your heart. That's why breath is so powerful. Deep breath into your heart is so powerful. Even if you just did 10 breaths in and out of the mouth, deep breath where you feel the heart expanding, you'll start to feel a little shift because that energy is stuck and it needs to move. The other thing that you want to consider is that around your heart, your actual physical organ of your heart, is what we would call a myocardial sheath. So the myocardial sheath is like a layer of tissue that's right on top of your heart, and it's tight. It gets constricted And it's like, think of a tight muscle, but it's a tissue. It's a fascia, and it gets really tightly woven, and it represses the energy of the heart, and it makes it so it can't even pump as well. That's why people end up having heart attacks and things like that, stroke even. So what we want to do is stretch that. And the way to stretch it is bring energy, like bring a lot of air into your lungs and into your maximum capacity, so that you're actually literally stretching your heart, stretching the myocardial sheath around the heart. And the more you stretch it, it becomes more flexible, becomes more open, becomes more relaxed, and starts to feel better, because it's that tension, that constriction that hurts. So as you start to relax, you start to feel better, you start to feel more at ease, you start to feel more peace, and then you start to feel everything's okay. You're like, oh, actually, everything's in divine order. And then you can really feel all these things that you already know. Rational mind knows we're eternal. That person didn't actually leave. They're still with me. But the body doesn't know that in the beginning. The body only knows it's gone, and it goes into panic, and it goes into grief. So instead, it's like, relax. You get there by stretching, by releasing. And a big part of the stretching, releasing pattern or process is actually crying. And that's why I talk a lot about the power of water. The water in our body, we're 70% water as humans. And then when you cry, this is water, right? The tears, but it's a release. And it's like this energy from the heart must come out, and allow yourself to grieve. Allow this release, allow it, right? But don't dwell in it too long, because if you allow it and then you just stay there all day every day for like a year, it can really bring your life down, so you have to find ways to just monitor how long you allow yourself to stay allowing it, so if you allow it for, let's say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, then you have practices of breath, of cleansing, detox. You can do a fast. You could do a 3-day juice fast where you can clear energy very quickly with that. And then, like Lori just posted about EFT. So that's another really powerful meditation technique that we have in the training. And we have lots of videos in the teacher training module about EFT. So EFT is emotional freedom technique. And this is a tapping. So there's all these different points on your body, but particularly the one in the heart center. And you can follow along with the videos in the app, in the training program, and just do these tapping practices. And when you get to the heart collarbone point, do that deeper breathing into the heart while you're tapping, and giving yourself affirmations of, I am love, I am releasing, I am eternal, life is eternal, I'm so grateful, I am healed, I am holy, I am one with the universe. Like, give yourself affirmations of infinite expansion so that you can release these limiting belief systems that keep us in the grief pattern, which is, I've lost something is gone from my life. Those are not true. It just feels that way because we live in a physical world, a material world, and we feel like this thing is gone from our life. But everything that we've ever experienced in our life always stays with us, even from lifetime to lifetime. Many lifetimes. You'll never lose somebody. You'll never forget something. It's always in you, even if it's not at the forefront of your mind, if it's not in front of you. And think about this. How many people have you known in your life that were friends or connected that you don't talk to anymore? So we don't grieve those things because it was a choice that we made. Whereas a lot of times grief comes because we feel like we didn't get to make that choice. And so that's a lot of times the main thing. If you didn't feel like you got to choose for this person or thing to leave, that's usually where we grieve. Whereas if we felt like we chose them to leave, then we feel empowered. We're like, yeah, I had them leave my life. Whereas if we didn't want them to leave and they left, then we feel sad about it. And sometimes we wanted them to leave and we still feel sad about it. And that's an inner conflict because we chose them to leave and we're feeling sad about it. Now that's a problem that we're having inside of ourselves, which is a conflict between what we're choosing and how we actually feel about our choices. If you're choosing someone to leave your life, let's say you break up with them, but you feel grief about them leaving,
then you have to go back into the story of why you feel grief around them leaving, and you actually take your power back, empower yourself with the truth of the story, which is you chose them to leave. It's better that they're gone. You're creating space for something much better. You're worthy of something much better, and build up your worth story and your excitement about what's coming and the good riddance of their being gone from your life and all the reasons why that was the best choice, so that you can feel good about that instead of grief about the loss. So a lot of times it's about mindset and perspective, so much more so than just, like, oh, I'm feeling sad. Like, we can get stuck in an emotional pattern that we're not even aware why. It's just, oh, I got swept up into this storm cloud of emotion. But if you really look at your life, you could probably see that it doesn't need to be this storm cloud of emotion. We can be the witness consciousness outside of our experience and just be like, wow, I chose that. And I like to do it this way, which took me a long time to master this. So I'm not going to say, oh, first day, you got to be a master. But this is something that took me a lifetime that I'm really good at now, is to realize we choose everything. We are the choice maker of everything, even when we don't think that. For example, when my mother died, or when my mother lost her mind, any of those things that happened with her, it was painful for a very long time. I had a lot of grief about it. But then when I realized that I had chosen it, but I still would go into grief, because the mind and the knowing and the embodiment were not fully integrated. So if your mind, your belief, your knowing is not embodied and integrated into your beingness, you're going to still be at conflict between what you know to be true and what you're experiencing in your body. So, for example, if you're in grief about, my example, my mother passing away, but I knew on some higher level, like the highest possible level, we chose that before we were even born, that we both made this contract and this choice that we would be, let's say, in this scenario where she would lose her mind and I would lose my mother, and I would have to go through that pain, and then I would grow through that pain, and I would learn how to heal myself through that pain, and then I would learn how to heal others, and then I would learn how to be so empowered about this amazing ability that we have to heal ourselves, that I would share that with millions of people so that I could help others through this pain, and that I would actually find my purpose of life as a result of that whole experience. And then finally coming full circle to realize that the pain was actually a choice the whole time. I could have gone through that without the pain and risen into my purpose much faster, or with more joy perhaps, or but that I chose even to drag out the pain, because somehow my soul was like, I'm going to learn this lesson deeply, and I was going to choose to learn it through the deep, long pain of it, of the grief. So when you look at it like that, you're like, okay, well, I'm choosing this. So if you're choosing this, allow it. But when you choose to stop choosing that, then celebrate, and then rise out of it. And then you can teach others. And you can say, okay, either way, you can teach others. You can teach others while you're in it. You can teach others when you're out of it. The main thing is that as you help others through it, it helps you through it too. That's why I once again, always encourage everybody to be a teacher. Even if you just end up teaching your sister or your neighbor, or like your husband or wife or something like that, that if you at least share this information with one other person, it will solidify your own knowing of what you're teaching and your mastery of this path that much more. And the more people you share it with, you will experience that much more mastery. So it's actually a part of the learning is the sharing. And so as you're learning how to heal your grief, maybe start a group where you're going to do a grief healing group, yoga for grief. You can work with Lori even, or anybody. We have other people in our community that focus on that as a specific niche. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And you can start like a workshop series. You can do an online thing. You can do it locally. But just yoga for grief, breathing, meditation, EFT, cleansing, detox, mindset, mantras, love and healing, community and connection. These are all part of the process of healing grief. But the true completion of the experience of grief is in the integration between what your mind knows, which is that you chose this experience, and the integration into the embodiment of that knowing, which is, okay, well, if I chose that, then I'm going to celebrate, instead of I chose that, but I'm going to still suffer. Because if you choose something and then you still suffer, there's not an embodied integration. But if you choose something and you're like, all right, I chose that, I'm going to channel that choosing into purpose, into ways to serve. As you're doing that and you have an awareness around that, you're going to be really empowered and excited about that. You're like, wow, okay, I'm going through this, but it's leading me to my destiny. It's leading me to be able to help others. Wow, how cool. Now I'm creating a community around this. Now we can all help each other. Now I have this sisterhood. Now I have this opportunity to serve. Now I have this way of creating abundance for myself as well through this journey, and how to help others through it as well, as a beautiful offering. And now I have a community that I'm building. And now I have a topic that I'm passionate about sharing about, so you can see all the beautiful seeds and the fertilizer and the soil, and then the blossoming that can come from the destructive force of the grief. That's what we were talking about in the beginning of this whole talk, was basically about this death and rebirth cycle, or like the cycles of life. So if you're in the grief cycle, use that as fertilizer to fertilize the seed, to help others with their seeds, and then you guys can all grow a beautiful garden together. And then as a result of that, everybody heals, and then you have something so beautiful on the other side of that you've created. Does that make sense? Hopefully you guys are understanding, following along what I'm talking about. Leave a comment. Amelia, so amazing. I just read the part of your book about Chinese medicine and the body parts. Oh, cool. I realized that smoking weed has always been my addiction. It makes sense. Thank you, Dashima, for addressing my question. You're welcome. Yeah, that's really cool that you read that. It's so funny. I had a dream about that the other night, because I had this dear friend and I love him so much, but he has been smoking weed every day for 20 years at least, probably longer. I've known him for like 17 years, but anyway. And it's really kind of held him back in certain ways, because he has such potential. And I used to smoke a lot of weed too, but like I never really let it hold me back because I'm so motivated. But I did notice when I stopped smoking weed, and not like I never smoked in the past 10 years, but I hardly did. In the past 10 years, it's very, very rare. But when I was much younger, I would smoke weed. And I noticed a difference in my productivity, in my mental clarity, in my, just like my power is diminished with it. Some people don't mind that. But like to me, I just noticed that my capacity for creating massively in this world was being stunted and diminished by that. Anyway, I had this dream about it the other night. It was really interesting because I had this friend that's still doing it a lot. Let's see. Flor said, I learned this in this YTT about EFT. So I participated the tapping summit last week. Oh, good. It was amazing for my stuck grief and tension. They have a free app as well, the tapping solution. Yeah, that's so amazing, Flor. Yeah, that's where I learned about tapping. And we have a lot of videos about tapping in the teacher training. I don't know if you've done my tapping videos in the teacher training, but we have a number of different ones. And yeah, and then you can do many other ones. I mean, tapping is so cool. Once you learn the kind of formula of tapping, and that's why I included it in the teacher training, I would love for you to learn the formula of tapping. That way you can integrate it with any topic for yourself, for your students. You could do it about grief. You could do it about personal power, self-love, self-worth, about healing your gut, about, manifesting your dreams. Whatever you want to do, it's literally just a way to clear any block or stuck energy out of your emotional body so that you can be a more clear vessel for whatever you want to create to flow through you. So, yeah, that's so cool. And I'm so happy to hear that you participated in that. And also let me know if you've done the videos that I have in a teacher training and if you have any feedback about those. Let's see. Yes, beautiful. That's why I will start this yoga studio to help people with PTSD, because I know how hard it is and how helpful yoga, meditation, and the whole package is. Yes, I did the videos. Oh, cool. That's so beautiful, Flor. I'm really excited to hear how your studio blossoms into a center of healing for the world It's so exciting. I always love to see people doing that. We have a graduate that was with us in Costa Rica, Darian, and right after graduation, she came right back home and started building her studio too. And it's just so exciting. I love to see this happening because that's really how we're going to see, so much more healing in the world. Having these community centers where people can come and learn from you and plug into community, plug into consistent practices daily. And also for you, how you can, accelerate your own mastery through the art of teaching, through the joy and the gift of sharing is how you really, elevate yourself to a leadership in the world. And so, yeah, I can't wait to see how your studio comes out. So exciting. And let's see, anybody else have any questions? Let's see. Laura said, they helped me a lot and they were the reason to do the EFT summit. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, the summit's really interesting because it's cool to like experience different people teaching EFT or anything, right? Like meditation, EFT, yoga. When you get to experience different people doing it, first of all, one thing that I learned from that was that I was like, there's actually a formula that they all follow. That's what I took away from it the most was I was like, there's a formula that they all follow. It wasn't like that different. And each one of them had their own words that they would put with it, but it was always the same points of tapping and they would do different themes. And that was a really cool thing to understand was like, you can actually do tapping for different themes. And that's what we were just talking about. Like, so you can integrate whatever you want to help, like move through you. You can just make a theme around it. And then you create affirmations to go with the tapping. So yay, I'm so happy to hear that you did that. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? One second. Okay, it's 12:22. I have my cute puppy. She's curly's up on my lap. Hopefully she's going to be okay with the singing bowl right on top of her. I'm going to do a little meditation. It's going to be quite beautiful. And just so you know, you can do these meditations, like I said, anytime. And I really encourage everyone to meditate every day. I like to meditate multiple times a day if I can. Such a good way. It's just like entering into the portal of existence so that you can get clear and connected to whatever it is that you're creating in your life and amplify that intention to a higher level. Let's see. Flor says, I am reading the Gita. How can we integrate it the best in our yoga teaching? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I'll answer that too, really quick. So the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita is one of the most famous and longest, oldest, I guess you could say, yogic scriptures. So the Bhagavad Gita is a story. Actually, I love the story. It's a story of Arjuna, who was in battle. It's like an ancient mystical story, kind of, this guy Arjuna, he was at a battle, right? And he's fighting a battle, the whole story basically. And so it's a cool thing because they're teaching kind of through this idea that it's like almost like the art of war, like that we are like, as humans, we're like fighting a battle. Like being a human is fighting a battle on Earth. Now it sounds weird, but it's like, okay, we learn through conflict. We learn through these experiences. So they're teaching these different life lessons, like morals, right? That's how the Bible did it too. Like all the major books throughout history are teaching from these stories because stories help people to learn so much easier than just telling them, right? You tell someone the facts, they're like, oh, okay. But if you give them a story, there's like so much relatability that they can feel connected to that. So through the Bhagavad Gita, they teach the story of Arjuna and his battle. He's on the battlefield like the whole book, and he has an enlightened teacher that's helping him to understand what's going on with life. So he's, each little stanza or whatever you want to call that, like passage of the book is like a separate moral kind of thing, like, right? So the moral of the story. So if you get the book, I had a really good one that when I read it, it's called The Living Gita. The Living Gita is it's got a commentary by a Swami. So he reads it, he translates it, because originally the book was written in, I think, Sanskrit or Hindu. And so it's like the book is transcribed into English, and then they have, after every like passage, he has like a commentary where he explains it. He's like, this is what he's talking about. So it's like really good for people who are new to the Gita to get a book like that. The Living Gita. That's the one I have. Lori said, oh, cool. Yeah. And then I listened to the one on Audible. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's good. So yeah, the one with the commentary is really, really beneficial, because if you don't have the commentary in the beginning, you can kind of be like, what is he even saying? Like, sometimes you can understand what they're talking about just if you're intelligent, but sometimes you're like, oh, I wonder what that was all about. But if you have this Swami commentary, it's really, really beneficial. So anyway, if you go and get the commentary version, it would be very beneficial. It was a great book. I'm glad that I read that one. Yeah. It's actually, I think it's in the Ultimate Success Library in the teacher training. I'm not sure if it is, but if it is, let me know. Because we have like 100 ebooks in there. And it might be in there. But yeah, if you can get the Living Gita, that's on Amazon. And I had bought that a while, like many, many years ago, and it was a very good version. And then the question that you had asked was, how can you integrate it into your teaching? There's many ways you can do that. Depends on what you want to do. If you own a studio, what you can do is actually bring it, let's say, to your class, and you can start the class with one passage, for example, and you can make that your theme. And you're like, okay, in this passage, you read the passage. I've had people do this. It's really beautiful. You read the passage, and then you explain what it means, right? The commentary part. And then you relate it to people's life. Okay, so let's say the passage is about how to deal with grief or conflict. Let's just say, because some of them are going to be about that. Then you relate it to people's life. You'll be like, you know, when you're dealing with something like this in your own life, I invite you to take these words of wisdom into your meditation, into your yoga practice, and see how that can shine light on your own life experience and bring you more peace and clarity and help you through it. And then if you wanted to, if you're teaching a yoga class, you could continue to reference that theme throughout your class. You could even build the whole class around the theme. So let's say it's all about being a warrior. Well, the whole Bhagavad Gita is on the battlefield. So they do a lot of warrior. They're not doing like warrior one pose, but they're doing warrior pose because they're probably carrying like a sword or something, you know? So like bringing that warrior energy into the class and like relating from there. You know, like Arjuna on the battlefield, you can use those words as you're teaching if you feel called to. So like as you're teaching warrior one, warrior two, warrior three, or any of the warrior, humble warrior, dancing warrior, we have all these warrior poses that you could integrate the Bhagavad Gita teaching into the way that you communicate your class, and be like, yeah, you're like Arjuna on the battlefield, and you're strong and you're powerful and you're clear, you know, and just bringing that awareness of the stories that you began the class with, and the way that you built a theme around it. It's a beautiful way to do it if you feel called to. I don't know if that would be interesting to you, Flor, but anybody who feels like, if you're a teacher, you're a yoga teacher, if you're attracted to integrating the Bhagavad Gita into your class, that's one beautiful way that you can do that. You could also bring it into the beginning of the class. You could bring it into the end of the class. In the Shavasana, you could read the passage. Or if you bring it in the beginning, you could open it up to a discussion for the people and have them be sitting as you read it, and then share. You know, you can have a little sharing circle. And that brings more community and more unification into the group, because then everybody's like, you know, everybody has something going on. So then they feel like, wow, this is not just a yoga class. This is like a community that I can connect to, that cares about what I'm going through. And then it starts to feel like a community. Let's see. So she said, I'm reading a Dutch version. Sometimes it's really strange, and some parts are smart, written, and understandable. Yeah, so if you can read the English version, the one that I'm saying with the commentary, I think you would be really, it would be a little bit easier for you to understand, because sometimes going from Sanskrit to Dutch is probably a very interesting translation. See, Lori says it's not, I don't think, but Autobiography of a Yogi is in the book library. Oh yeah, okay. Lori says, I don't know yet, but smart idea, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, you know, I always have lots of ideas, so if you ever have any questions, feel free, ask them away, ask them away. Okay, so we're gonna do our meditation. Taking a deep breath, sitting up nice and straight. Let's do that heart expanding breath. So inhale, you're gonna inhale into the heart center, expand the heart as much as you can. And then hold the breath. And then bringing a little bit more air in until you can't get any more in. And then hold the breath. See how long you can hold it. And if you want, while you're doing that, tap on your heart. I'm going to tell you when to let it go. Keep holding. And exhale. Whew, sweating from that one. Okay, we're going to do that 2 more times. Every time you do this, this is called long expansion breath. Every time you breathe into your heart like that and hold it, and you're stretching, like I said, that myocardial sheath, the fascia, the layer of tissue around the heart, very healthy for you. This will prevent heart attacks, but also releasing grief. It's really, really beautiful. So many kinds of breath work. That's why I teach a lot of different kinds of breath work, because they're all beneficial for certain, they're like prescriptive. It's like medicine. Okay, we'll do it again. Inhale. Hold it. You can tap. And relax. Exhale. We're going to do one more time. You really feel the expansion of the heart, releasing any tension, any stress, any grief, any patterns that are blocking your heart chakra. Just make it a commitment on this full moon equinox portal that you're letting that go, and you're liberating yourself from the bonds of that energy blockage and allowing a new vibration to enter. A vibration of love, of joy, of ease, of grace. Just relaxing and knowing that it's all going to be okay. It always is. It's all going to work out even better than you could have hoped. It always does. Trusting in the knowing that the universe has your back and that you're infinitely loved and supported and guided at all times by the divine source of life. And do this one more time. Deep breath in. Hold it. Tapping if you want. And release. And just notice, close your eyes, notice how much more at ease you feel. Notice if you feel any
Any more relaxed in your heart. Notice how your relationship is to your heart, your feeling, your sense of yourself, your physical body, interconnected to the divine self, your soul, your infinite, eternal, divine presence on this, in this universe, and then on earth. Notice if you've been experiencing patterns and then just committing now and permanently to let them go, dissolve those patterns forevermore. And truly, truly, truly committing on this beautiful portal to rise into your leadership, rise into your highest self, rise into your dharma, your service, your seva, the contribution that you're here to make in the world. And call in the support, call in the alignment, the partnerships, the abundance. See yourself at the edge of the ocean of existence, the infinite abundance available in the universe, and just standing there with a big pipe, standing there with a pipe, and you're just piping in the infinite abundance and support and love and joy, not just flowing to you, but through you, as a conduit, a channel, a catalyst, to be able to draw that energy in from the universe and then share it with as many people as humanly possible through your work, through your light, through your life, as a light, as an angel on earth, as a healer, a lover, a coach, a mother, a sister, a friend, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. You are ready. You're ready for the next level. You're ready to call it in. The major shift and the divine completion of the 22-year cycle here in this beautiful year of 2022, in the portal of the full moon, spring equinox, eclipse, or not eclipse, but portal of equinox energy, moving from the darkest months of the year into the light, calling in that beautiful light to fertilize and nourish your seeds that you've been planting, so they may grow into beautiful blossoming lotus flowers of consciousness, fruiting into all of the abundance and prosperity that you deserve. You are worthy. You are 100% whole, worthy, and complete as a divine conscious being choosing to be here on this planet. We give thanks for this life and all the challenges, because we see those are such an important and integral part of the process of evolution. Without challenges, we would not grow, so we celebrate the darkness as we rise out of the ashes like the phoenix, rising out of the ashes, blazing with the light and fire of passion, enthusiasm, excitement for what is coming, because everything your heart desires is on its way to you. It's already done. It's already yours. And just give thanks for the manifestation of your dreams, your goals, your desires. Everything is already available on a timeline, and it's in the infinite, eternal existence. And now it's just a matter of matching the vibration by celebrating the manifestation right here, right now, with gratitude, with joy, with an open heart, with an open mind, fully receiving all of the miracles, the blessings, the abundance, the friends, the support, the community, the contribution, your clients, your students, your whatever it is that you're calling in, just allowing it, and the divine feminine energy within you, allowing it. And knowing as you focus on your inner energy, your vibration is what is the magnetizing energy that will create all miracles in your life. Focusing on that, loving yourself, creating rituals of self-care every day, being of service to humanity through your seva, through your teaching, through your contributions, and all good is only coming now into your life, and all the blessings and the abundance and the miracles that you've been calling in, they're already yours. Just allow. And so it is. And so it is. And we'll also say a prayer out to the people, all the people in the world, the children, the families, the communities, people starving, people in war, people in sickness, people in conflict. We send them love. We send them love. We send them healing. We send them awareness and consciousness to rise out of that. May the light of consciousness permeate every being on this planet and awaken them to the true divine nature, oneness with existence, love, and unity consciousness, so that all beings may come back to the truth of life and be healed and live to their highest potential with infinite support from the universe to achieve their divine life purposes and all of the home, food, water, shelter, love, affection, joy, adoration, and abundance that they could ever need in this life. We send love to everyone, especially those in Ukraine and Russia, healing the hearts and minds of humanity. The children in the schools, school teachers, the nurses, everybody's suffering from burnout, mental health issues, suicidal contemplations. We just send them love and joy and purpose and meaning, and know that help is on the way. And we're here to be of service to them in every way that we can. May our project for the children of the future be blessed continuously with all of the support necessary so that we may also achieve our purpose here in this life in healing the children and the teachers and the parents and all the beings in all the world. And so it is. May all beings have love and affection and joy and playfulness, so that this journey of life may be enjoyable and excitement and adventurous through all the ups and downs. And we may feel that this is the greatest experience in all of existence, this opportunity that we have to live on this earth as humans. We're so grateful for this life and for this community. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for showing up like you do. Happy full moon equinox. Next week will be our last week for the March portal, and then we'll be taking a break until the summer semester. So anybody who's not graduated yet, get in touch with us so we can help support you through that. Even when we don't have these anymore, we have 2 years of replays, so there's more than enough you can plug into. And then any questions that you have along the way, you're always welcome to message us. Also, like I said, we have the festival in June. We'd love to see you there. We also have opportunities for volunteers. Anybody who might want to help out in that way, contact Suki at flowstate.yoga. And anything else that you can think of, feel free to message me in the app at any time, the flowstate.app. I'll be there. And I love you so much. Infinite blessings to you and your family. Much love. And namaste.